a lot of people are focused on the prices of cards, and that's what they're using to determine whether the market is healthy and doing well or whether it's falling and doing poorly. Okay, so for example, like when prices are high on cards, everybody's happy. The market must be doing really well and healthy. When prices are falling and they're low, people are saying the sky is falling, the market is crashing, we should all get out of cards, and people are really negative. Okay, so we are solely focused on price. But in his paper, Josh says that that is only one element of what makes the overall or gives us the overall picture of what the market is doing or how healthy the market is. It's only one element, and it's actually the way that we should actually look at it is in terms of 3 different categories to determine how healthy the market is. Okay, so price is only one of them. That's a singular way of looking at the market, but really there should be three things that we need to be paying attention to. Okay, number 1 is the price, obviously. Number 2 is what he calls the people category, the piece of the pie of the market. Okay, how many people are currently in the market and what the demand is. And then number 3 is what the companies are doing, okay, to support the infrastructure and support that demand. And he kind of breaks it down in terms of using a sports analogy to look at it. Okay, he uses a baseball analogy in terms of innings and where these 3 categories are in the innings of the game to show you where they are in the life cycle of the market. So let me explain, okay? We'll use prices, for example, okay? So prices will be the first thing that we cover here. In terms of prices, in the span of a 9-inning game, 1 being just at the beginning and 9 being at a fully mature market, he says that prices are in the 5th or 6th inning of the 9-inning game, okay? Meaning that, let's just go back to the 80s, 90s, right? That's when really trading cards started to pick up. That would be like the 1st or 2nd inning. Then 2000s, 2010s, and all the way up until before 2020, where there was like very little but steady growth up. The prices of cards were probably in the 3rd or 4th inning of the game. Then in 2020, when there's a huge spike, okay, and then the subsequent correction and crash in 2021, that's when the prices went to the 5th and 6th inning, okay? And there's still room for cards to grow. Cards are not fully mature in terms of their prices. That's what he means by that. Okay, so that's the price section. We're in the 5th or 6th inning of the price section. The second part is the people section, okay? In terms of this, what he's talking about are how many people are in the hobby, which is what is driving the demand, which affects the prices of cards. And in terms of people, we are in the 3rd or 4th inning is what he's saying. So again, going back to prior to 2020, right? Steady growth in the hobby, but really it's still a very niche thing that people are collecting. So that's probably like in the 2nd inning of the game. And then 2020, all these people jump into the hobby, prices skyrocket, the hobby grows, 2-3x of what it was the year prior. That's when we go into the 3rd or 4th inning, and that's where we are right now. But even though we're like probably 4 or 5x of what we were a couple years ago, in the overall grand scheme of the population and how many people could be involved, how many sports fans, how many investors, how many collectors are out there, we are still just in the beginning stages of getting into the middle of the game. There is still a lot of people that can jump into the card market to make it grow to that 5th, 6th, 7th inning and all the way to the mature market of what he sees we can be at, okay? So there is still a lot of population that can jump into the hobby and cause the hobby to continue to grow. So in that regard, we are only in the 3rd or 4th inning, okay? And what is really gonna drive that type of demand to come into the hobby, that type of growth, is how cards are viewed in our culture. Okay, are cards going to be cool, where people are going to want to collect cards the same way that people listen to music, the same way people collect sneakers, the same way that people, are into, watching like other things like reality TV shows. Once trading cards or collecting cards becomes ingrained in our culture, then it is mainstream. Right now it is not, but there are signs to show that it is going that way. Signs being celebrities that are becoming, major collectors like Steve Aoki, athletes that are collecting or investing in companies like Kevin Durant. And when they start making TV shows, lots of content creators out there creating content, but when they start to make major TV shows like Ken Golden, when he's doing that, I don't know if it's like a documentary or drama or something, but whatever Ken Golden is doing, and that's going to be on Netflix, that's really gonna bring a lot of eyes to the hobby, bring a lot of people to the hobby, and that is what's gonna drive demand. Also, when Fanatics takes over, whenever that is, and they start pumping in money into marketing trading cards or sports cards, and you start seeing cards at like stores all over the place, in stadiums and arenas and all that stuff, that's gonna bring in a whole new crop of people to the hobby, and that's gonna grow the people section of the market, okay? So there's still a lot of room to grow. And then finally, the last section, which is probably the most important section, is the company section of the pie that we should be looking at, okay? Companies, these are the manufacturers, these are the grading companies, these are the supply companies, these are the service companies. Every business that makes money from the card market, they are in this section, okay? And in this regard, he says that companies are still only in the second or third inning of this life cycle, meaning that up until 2020, right, there were only just a handful of companies that were involved in this market. But in 2020 and 2021, there were all these startups that came in, all these pop-up grading companies, all these supply companies, all these service companies, right? Everybody jumped into the card market to start building out the infrastructure and provide goods and services to make money off of it. And that is really causing a lot of innovation and growth within the hobby, the infrastructure of the hobby, okay? But in that regard, we're still only in the second or third inning, he says, and there's still so much room for the companies to grow that they're not even in the middle of the game yet, okay? And really, companies are what drive this whole thing. Companies pay for marketing, they pay for innovation of products, that brings in more people. More people come in, that drives up demand, and that affects the prices of cards, which makes them go up. So the way that he's describing this overall picture right now is that basically you have the companies which cannot keep up with the demand of people. The demand of people cannot keep up with the prices, and prices go high. That's the way that it is right now. Prices are towards the end of the game. Where it should be, the way I interpret his paper, is that really it should be the reverse of that, okay? Companies should be towards the end of the game where they're almost fully mature. They built out the infrastructure, and they're supporting the marketing of the hobby. They're doing that drives people, okay? So people should be in the middle section. That drives people into the hobby. That keeps things growing. More people, more activity, more demand. As demand goes up, the prices, which should be towards the end, the prices should be going up. So that's kind of like where we want to be, but it's the exact opposite right now, okay? Which is not a bad thing. That's just how it is right now. So he says that once these three sections, okay, price, people, and companies, even though they're in different sections of the inning of the game right now, they're in different innings. Once they start to get closer and they start to align in the same inning, so let's just say they all align in like the 8th or 9th inning of the game, and the market is fully mature, that's when you'll see a huge boom, just like we saw in 2020, right? That's when there'll be a big boom. That's when everything will be good, everybody will be happy, and the market will be very healthy.